Good morning from my bird-filled garden. I needed a new daily stitching project and I thought, well, what, instant gratification, what can I find? And I discovered that I still had a leftover kit from a little tiny workshop that I did at the wonderful Gympie Quilt and Craft Show this year. So I thought, well, you start where you are and use what you have. I thought that I'll, just use that. So my little kit that I made for everybody was a selection of snippets of lace and some fabric and a needle and some cream thread. So I prepped everything for them because we were so short of time, and this is a beautiful silk fabric. I did iron on the pellon for them because we were short of time, and I thought, well, if I just prep it for them, then we can get straight ahead. I don't have my pellon all the way to the edges because I'm hoping that this is going to fray up really, really well later on. But as I work, I'm sure it'll fray up. It'll fray up really beautifully. So these are my little bits and bobs that I gave them, and as I said, it was a very short, I didn't have a lot of time with them. So I'll just talk you through a little bit of a process. When I'm working with snippets, weirdly enough, I kind of like to be zen with them. I'm not sure that I like to layer too many. Keeping away from the edges, I think, is a really good idea. And I think, oh, the wind's blowing everything. I think what's important is sort of creating easy, shapes and contours that are pleasing to our little, I don't think I'll put that on. I wonder if I just pop that on and have that as my break. See, I quite like a very heavy bottom. I'm very into heavy bottoms. If I put that like that, that's pretty ugly there, isn't it? So maybe take her out, make my pillow here. I like pillows as well because it gives me something to work from. That's pretty good. And I'll pop that on the bottom. So I'll just give this a bit of a trim. I've only taken a very small pair of scissors out into the garden. So it's not ideal, and I don't think they're my sharpest ones. Anyway, yeah, it's all good. And just kind of rough her up a little bit so she doesn't look all pristine and new. Fray her. Rule of thirds, so nothing will be slap bang in the middle of my little page there. So I move everything over to rule of thirds, and once again, as I said, I like to give myself a seriously heavy bottom to work from. I don't need to put that on, less is more, I say. And I've got this little whee there, and if I just pop that there, I am pretty happy with that. Okay, now to stitch this down. You can of course pin it if you so desire. I, on the other hand, pins are my little nemesis. I don't enjoy them at all. They get in my way, they buckle the fabric. So no, I normally use a basting spray, and I would just spray this onto the back of my little snippets that I'm putting on, and that actually keeps that in place really, really well. You unfortunately have to let this sort of dry a while, so for that purpose today I'm not going to use that. I'll use my least favorite things, pins and Nemo thread. Quite contrary, as my mother says. Now what I'm going to do is I need to get this just stitched down. I need to get my little snippets anchored, but I don't want my snippets to take over from the embroidery that I'm going to add on later. So I'm going to keep my thread very, very, very neutral. This is just a crochet thread, I think. And the stitch that I'm going to use is a herringbone. I'm not going to do, you know, running stitches all the way across. So I'll come up. I'll take a bite out of my fabric and I'll pull it to my left. Oh, my bracelet's making lots of noise on this tray. Also, my herringbone stitches obviously not even, and they're not too small, because whenever we make something too small, they actually get more powerful. So if we can get them nice and big and relaxed, then that's how it appears on the background of this work. So as I said before, I'm not going to stitch every single piece of this of my snippets down, because I do like it if there is some movement and loft and happening there. And also bear in mind, I am going to be adding embroidery to this, so you know, the embroidery will hold it down and it won't get heavy and chunky. My daughter is safely in Chile as we speak, and her dog is settling in. She's a French bulldog crossed with an Aussie bulldog, so she's quite the dog. All right, I'll go and do this side. I have a little tip for you regarding herringbone. When I teach herringbone, especially in my crazy quilting classes, everybody gets their knickers in a knot about herringbone and making them even, blah de blah. Now, if you want to get your ruler out and measure your herringbone, please be my guest. A little trick for you: if you just keep this bite of this fabric parallel to that seam, no matter what size herringbone you do, if they're even, if they're uneven, the herringbone will actually look nice and neat and tidy. So this bite over here, keep it parallel to that seam. Crazy quilting is my absolute first love. It asks something of me. Once again, with my crazy quilting, less is more too. I don't know, you know, if you have a look at beautiful antique crazy quilts, which I have, they kept their fabrics so beautifully simple, and the color palette was gorgeous, and the, yeah, I think there's a misnomer. Oh, here I go offending people. I think there's a misnomer out there in crazy quilting that anything goes. I don't think so. I think that crazy quilting, you've got to show restraint. This one over here, I'll simply use these little holes in the edges to couch this down. Remember, I want my stitches that I'm using to stabilize my snippets to be, you know, in the background. I don't want them to be like a middle child and dominate the proceedings. So just keep her nice and subdued. Also, the pellon that I used to stabilize this bit of silk with is going to immediately add texture to it, because it's got some loft. So as I'm stitching, the stitching will pull the fabric down against the pellon and give me some dimension as well. Run out of thread there. Fuss. This one's going to go here, and then the last one I'll pop over there. Rule of thirds. Some more thread. Hay fever throat. I'm originally from South Africa, and my family immigrated to Australia about just over 22 years ago. And believe it or not, I have the same cat and the same fridge. Both are they're looking a bit worse for wear, but they're still working okay. 22 years old, my cat is. So you'll see here, now I've kept them, even if I went really out and all wacky and I made this one really big and this one too, as long as that bite of that fabric is parallel to that seam, your eye is going to be happy with that. It's going to go, okay, that's fine, you know, I can cope with that. But if that's coming off at that funny jaunty angle, your brain's going to go, what the hell happened there? I'll make this nice and big as well. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll prep this for us for today, and then my next snippet I will do some embroidery on it. So that's how my daily stitching goes every day. So this will be 15 minutes of it. So sometimes my daily stitching is the prepping of the background for my daily stitching. Another good way is, can you see how I'm holding this herringbone, that it's perpendicular to me? That's another good way of keeping your herringbone, you know, even if that's what makes you happy. And if you're a lefty and you don't know how to do herringbone from a right-handed book, this will help you a lot. One more to go. And then I've got one more, the bottom section, I think, and then I am done. Wow, this year has gone so quickly, and I've got so many workshops still to do, and then Christmas, and I have all my family here, which will be great. They don't live near me. My son and his 4 children live with his wife in Canberra, and then my daughter lives in Sydney. So, you know, there you go. I am done. Now, this little circular thing, this circular one that I'm going to put over there, once again, I won't pop her down there, well, because that looks, I don't know. So if you blur the lines always, I think that looks so much better, where there's a whole lot of layering than putting it here or putting it in the center or lobbing it over there. For me, that's my style, that's my taste. I might secure, I will not secure the whole thing down. I might actually come back and use a button. However, I'm very scared of buttons. They are so domineering and dominating, and they just take over. So I definitely use buttons, but I keep them all sort of subdued and contained. So there you go. That is my little snippet for today, getting ready for the embroidery tomorrow. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye for now.